Welcome to the MBU Football Coaches Show with Coach B. I am Guy Danhoff, and Coach, I don't know really where to start other than to say, wow, what a contest. I just want to tip my cap to the Spartans and the resiliency that the Spartans showed going on the road, taking on the number 14 team in the country and getting within 51 seconds, I guess technically you could say, right at the game ending with the missed field goal, but to come so close with less than 4 minutes to play, they're on their own 5-yard line, and your defense up to that point has played an amazing ball game. And I just want to get your reaction of that tough loss against Saint Xavier in Chicago as the Spartans fell 14-17.
Yeah, it was a gut-wrenching loss. You know, it was one of those losses that is tough to handle. My heart was broken for our athletes, for our players, because they really put it all on the line for 59 minutes and 10 seconds. You know, I thought they played an excellent game. We were one of the things we've talked a lot about on here. We were the one of the tougher teams on the field that day, if not the toughest team. We showed it in the stats. You know, we showed it in how we played. We didn't back down. It was I was really proud of how those guys played the entire night. And like I said, my heart was broken for them. It would have been a huge win, not only for them and kind of just verifying the work that they've been putting in and buying into what we've been talking about, the process and what it takes to be successful. They've bought into that. They've been doing that. And, you know, at times we need to have some of that show itself, you know, in a win. Obviously that didn't happen, but I was really proud of the way they played. And like I said, it's a gut-wrenching loss. We were right there. We knew we had it, but we got to finish, and we just didn't do that well enough on Saturday night. But nevertheless, would have been a huge, like I said, a huge statement win for us. But you know, we're taking those steps. Just still got some things we got to clean up.
Well, yes. However, I do want to point out, though, for Spartan fans, I mean, had you had won, you definitely would have been sitting in a hunt, literally a hunt for a conference title even. I mean,
yeah.
In other words, the opportunity would have lent itself to it. That's what made that game, I guess, so significant. It's interesting when you look back and you reflect back, and I would have said that would have been the greatest win in program history. I mean, going on the road against number 14 team.
There's no doubt.
Playing the way you did. So, you know,
there's no doubt that would have been the biggest win in our program history. And like you said, it would have kept us in the hunt for a league title. Unfortunately, that's not the way it finished.
Right.
That's not the way, you know, and really that falls on us. You know, we've got to be better. Like I said, we've got to be better in the end of game. And that's something we've talked to our players about, that when the game's on the line in the fourth quarter, you know, on both sides of the ball, we were just not at our best in crunch time. And there's something that people talk about learning how to win and learning how to welcome in success. You know, and that's something that we continue to preach to these guys and continue to work with them on. And they gave it their all. And like I said, I was extremely proud of the way they played. And, you know, we'll learn and get better from there.
So, Coach, what did you tell your team at halftime? Because, again, the score was 10-7.
Well, at halftime, I feel like it was a similar deal, right? Like, unfortunately, we gave up 2 long drives at the end of each half. And I was really proud of the way the defense rose up and made a goal line stop in the end of the first half that held them to a field goal and only put them up 10-7 rather than 14-7. So they did a great job there. But I think, you know, what I just encouraged them on is to go out and continue to play. You know, that this was a game that we were in. It was a game that we felt like we had really dominated in a lot of ways. Our defense was playing extremely hard. Our offense was having success and moving the ball. And we just needed to continue that, you know, just continue being the fastest, most physical team on the field, and we'll see where it turns out at the end of the 30 minutes. But we went into there really with the idea that, hey, this thing is tied, despite us having being down by 3 points. our mindset was that this was tied and that this was our game. You know, we knew, and something I talk to our guys a lot about is, you know, being disciplined and keeping your composure. And I thought they really did a good job of that. You know, when you put a team like that on the ropes, different things are going to happen. And I think they sent a signal, and we were very talking to our guys on the bench, right? When they ran that fake punt deep in their own territory on 4th down.
Right.
You know, that's not the kudos to them. They did a great job. It caught us off guard. They converted it. It went on, and they led to the 3 points, which, you know, we've got to be better. We've got to be alert to that. It's not necessarily a situation that you would expect a fake punt, but nevertheless, we've got to be ready for those things, because what that signaled to us right then was that they were worried.
Right.
They were worried that that we were in this game, that they were tied, and they were pulling out all the stops to make sure that they could get something going into halftime to give them some momentum, because they really didn't have any momentum. So, you know, when that happened, we knew that we had them on the ropes, and our guys weren't backing down, and we came out and played a great second half right up until the very end. And like I said, the last time the offense had the ball, we weren't sharp. The last time prior to the 2-minute situation, we weren't as sharp at what we had been, and those are all things we got to get fixed. And then we had opportunities defensively to, you know, potentially get off the field with several 3rd down conversions that they had. That we've got to make those plays, and we'll learn from it and get better.
So how did it feel in the 3rd quarter when Tyler Ball, you know, catches that touchdown, and now the Spartans take the lead? I know from the media standpoint, we literally went nuts, and we were just getting everyone to jump on the Spartan Digital Network. It would maybe an upset in the making. And how, you know, what was going on with the team at that point? Because at that time, at the 6:47 mark, it's Spartans 14, St. Xavier 10.
Yeah, that was a big lift. Obviously, Tyler made a great play. We got a big play a couple plays before that out of Mike Malone, using him a little bit as a wide receiver that put us at midfield. We just missed Mike on a vertical route, and then Tyler made a nice adjustment. I thought Josh did a great job on that, on a 3rd and long, of, you know, getting the ball out of his hands, giving Tyler a chance, understanding the coverage, and then Tyler did the rest. So that was obviously a big play. Put us up in the lead, gave us a lead by 4. Going with, you know, midway to late in the 3rd quarter.
Right.
And I think really for us, it just took everything to the next level. I think we already had a lot of confidence. We already had a lot of momentum on our side with the way the defense had been playing up to that point, and the offense being able to move the ball a little bit. It just kind of took us to the next level, and, you know, our confidence was at an all-time high. So it was obviously a big play, and something where, you know, those guys did a great job executing.
Well, some of the Spartan standouts, you know, we'll start with Josh Munn. As I said last week, and I said 2 weeks ago, every week he's just growing up in front of our eyes. I mean, he passed for just under 270 yards. He rushed for a touchdown to start the game to put the Spartans on the board in the 1st quarter. He then passed one we just talked about to Tyler Ball. So he has 2 touchdowns on the day. He did throw 1 interception, but another solid performance from him. And then, you know, you look at your defense. You had 3 guys with double-digit tackles, and that's Blake Knight, Kite, who's just playing really amazing ball. I mean, he has consistently throughout the season. Jalen Cowley, yet again, we're always mentioning his name, at 10 tackles, as well as Jeremiah Austin with 10 tackles and a sack. And talk to us about your defense, because, Coach, don't get me wrong, I thought Josh and the offense, I mean, we're doing what they needed, but the defense to me was really the headline. Being able to go up on the road and play that tough. And even before the half, the fact that you stopped them at the 1 yard line, like, I could not believe they did not go for the touchdown. They settled for the 3. That had to be a moral victory heading into halftime.
Yeah, that was a big stop. It really was. You know, now we got to be better to not put them in that situation.
Right.
But, you know, that was a huge play. And Jeremiah is a guy that just continues to get better on the defensive line. You mentioned Blake.
Yep.
You know, Blake is a tough kid, a guy that, you know, we talked about on the last coaches show, I believe, that, you know, a guy we really saw a lot of great things out of during the recruiting process. And the guy was really high on our board because he's just a hardworking, tough kid. and he's showing that. So obviously JC is a guy that we talk about every week, and he's got to be in the mix for obviously all conference, but maybe even defensive player of the year in the conference. He's a guy that you can go to battle with all the time. But the guy, I think defensively, one of the things that they're doing a great job at is they're really setting the tone for the entire team in their physicality and how they're playing. Joe King is a guy that is not he's probably one of the smallest guys on the field every week, but he's one of the toughest dudes on our team, and he's coming up and just knocking people. Mike Malone, man, what a game he played, and everybody in the conference, even though his stats don't show it, they better be paying attention. We talk about him a lot, but they better be paying attention to the fact that he doesn't have stats, because he erases one half of the field.
Right.
What he did, if you go back and watch the first drive of the game and the first play of the game, they were going to challenge Mike right off the bat to number 6, who's their top wide receiver.
Right.
And they were going to try and get him on a go route right away. And Mike didn't let the guy off the line, put his hands on him, and drove him 5 yards into their own bench and put him on his back, and got up and then did it the same thing on the next play and the next play. And eventually they just quit throwing to him. That guy, number 6, was their top wideout. He had like 1 target all night,
right,
and 0 catches. This guy, Mike just played phenomenal, and then getting him involved a little bit offensively was a great thing as well, because it just put that kind of athleticism and speed out there, helped us, made a couple of plays. So, this guy is a guy who just continues to get better every week as well. But, overall defensively, man, we're sending a message, which I know it's taken Coach Bowden a little bit to just get the right pieces where he wants, and all of us. But I'll tell you what, they are taking on his persona, and it's a tough-minded, as he would say, kind of grimy defense that they're gonna show up and they're gonna hit you and they're gonna run, and it makes it extremely tough for the opponent to go against them.
Well, I'm just going to say this. I was talking to, your GA, Ben. We love Ben. And, and being from Chicago, granted, this is not the right comparison here, but in the style of their coach, this is a comparison. Growing up in Chicago in the mid 80s, the Chicago Bears defense, you just had to mention their defense, and you knew that it was going to be very, tough fought. And I'm starting to see that happen, like you said, where our defense is starting to take on the persona of Joe Bowden and that intensity and not backing down. And it's just amazing to see week to week, especially against the ranked teams. How tough we are playing at this level now. And it's just really exciting to see it all starting to come together. And I know there's, like you said, Coach, a couple more tweaks, maybe then we start getting some wins. But nevertheless, there's so much to take away from that game in particular. So I got to ask, as we move on to our next segment, what did you tell your team after the game?
Well, just keep their heads up. How proud I was of them. They fought, and how heartbroken I was for them, because I knew how much they wanted that game. I knew how much that game would have meant to all of us, coaches included. And the sheer fact that we really dominated that game in so many different ways,
right.
that we were ahead of them on the stat sheet at the end of the game, except for in the several columns they
right.
were better than us. We got to be better on third down on both sides of the ball. They were better, but in total yards and all that stuff, we were better than them. We were better than them in several categories, except for the column that matters the most, and that is the final score. So, but I didn't want to take anything away from them, because they left it all out on the field.
Right.
And I was just extremely proud of them, and how they continue to just be very coachable and are buying into what we're talking about. And I just told them that I hope they see the fruits of what they're doing, because even though it's not in the win column just yet, how
right.
close they are. And, now's not the time to cheat the process. Continue to buy
right.
into the process. There's still a lot on the table for us. and ultimately they're giving themselves a heck of a reputation and springboard into the fall.
Right. So with that, my final question to kind of wrap up on last Saturday's game is obviously the last play of the game. You have a big call to make. Obviously, you decided to try for the game tying field goal. Just walk us through your thought process, because it's not like Spartan kickers since maybe Metzler, where we've ever seen someone just go in to try something over 50 yards. But obviously, you've seen them in practice a lot. And so just walk us through that decision, because there's two thoughts there. One is we can throw up. We don't actually call it a Hail Mary, coach, play. We actually call it from the Bon Jovi playbook. It's called Living on a Prayer.
Yeah.
So, you could have done the Living on the Prayer play, or you went for it in hopes of making that field goal. So if you could maybe, give us some of your thoughts on that final play.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. Like you said, that's a position where it could have gone either way. And,
right.
and I'll say it point blank, hindsight being 2020, that was a decision that I even was thinking about on the bus ride home, and, had trouble sleeping that night, kind of going over, did I make the right decision?
Right.
Did I not? I think at the time, what you got to do is you got to trust your gut.
Right.
And that's what I had to do. Colin Black is a guy who's got an extremely strong leg. He's made 52, 55 yarders in practice.
Okay.
The conditions were perfect. Like, there was no wind. I just felt like at the time that was the right decision. I think looking back, and the fact there were some factors involved that maybe I overlooked as the head coach, and I've got to be better about that. Just making sure that Colin was ready and
right.
and all that. So all of those things is kind of what played in my head. But at the end of the day, I stand by the fact that he can make that play. When you take the Hail Mary,
right,
or the Living on the Prayer play,
right,
your percentages, I just kind of felt like, your percentages still aren't that high. I've seen Colin Black make that 52 yarder. And so it's a tough call. There's no doubt. I think if anything, where my second guessing it kind of goes back and forth, just, to be upfront and honest with Spartan fans, is there's sometimes maybe where in hindsight you say, well, just go for the win. Don't worry about the tie. Let's go for the win. And that's valid and stuff that obviously I'd weighed out. But at the same time, I thought that we had dominated enough of that game that if we could get it to overtime, we would win it anyway.
Right.
So again, really tough. I was really proud of our guys to even put us in that situation, to give us an opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was really right on the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
If we were 3 yards back, there would have been no question.
Right.
So it was a tough call, but that was kind of my mindset, is that I've seen this kid make 52 and make 55, and not like sparingly. And unfortunately, that kick was right on line. It was just a little bit short. So he gave it everything he had, and ultimately, what I told him is keep your head up. He did everything he could, and it just was a little bit short, but not without a lack of effort on his part or anybody else's part.
I would agree with that, Coach. I'm just going to say it right now. I think he's going to be a fine Spartan kicker when his career is all said and done. Just the mere fact that you had that kind of confidence, because you've seen him in practice do it time and time and time and time again. That's what I was thinking when you called the play. I was like, because we've seen him do it. The question is, though, on that stage, right?
Yeah.
They ice him the whole 9 yards, just like you see, on TV, right? I mean, it was just that setting was right there. And of course, if he kicks it, I can't even imagine what would have happened to your bench and all of that. But nevertheless, I mean, gutsy call, and, you've seen him do, and that's all that really matters, and I do appreciate certainly you giving us some insight on that call, because I do know a lot of people has asked me about that call, because it's not like we've talked on the air a whole lot about Colin kicking over 50 yards.
Yeah, no. And that's one of those things where you got to trust your athletes to make a play. And like I said, the living on a prayer call is exactly what it is.
Right.
And
Right.
do we have the guys to get it done? Yeah, we do, but it's still a high risk play. And I think in my mind, like I said, I had utmost confidence in our defense, utmost confidence in our offense that we could get things done. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we've got to do a better job. We shouldn't let it come down to that. We can make better decisions with the offense with about 6 minutes to go, and ultimately defensively, that's exactly what the position they want to be in. So we've got to be at our best, and that's something we've talked a lot about throughout this week, and something we've prepared for. But again, you get that on the job training. It's hard to necessarily replicate that in practice, and we'll be better next time we're in those situations.
Absolutely. So with that, let's talk about moving forward. The Spartans are traveling to Davenport, Iowa, and you're taking on the Saint Ambrose Bees, which has always been an interesting rivalry, if you would. It's always a really, really good game. I mean, it's been, historically speaking, obviously you're going up to Iowa. The team is 2-2. They just came off of playing Trinity International. Obviously, they're 1-1 in the conference. And now that you've had the opportunity to break down some film, Coach, what do you see from the Bees, and how do you feel you might be able to have some advantages?
Well, they look like a typical St. Ambrose team to me. They're a team that plays extremely hard. They're physical. That's something that they've been every single time we play them. You go back a year ago, we jumped out to a big lead, and then they fought back. We could have easily buried them in times during that game. Thing that we've talked a lot about this week is we've got to convert in short yardage situations. We had 2 4th and 1s early in that game where that could have really separated us from them early on in that game, having already had a big lead, and they stopped us both times. And I think on one occasion even went 99 yards and scored or put points on the board against us. So we've got to be good in those situations. They're going to be ready to go. Same thing we talk about every week is faceless and nameless opponent, right? It just doesn't matter, because if we show up and play, we've proven that we can compete and beat anybody in this league. And if we don't, I guarantee you we have no shot against anybody in this league. So it's really more about us. Are we going to continue to play with the physicality and the confidence that we have, and continue to button things up and get better in certain areas? Or are we going to start feeling happy with ourselves? I don't think that that's going to happen. I think our guys are really focused, and they're, like I said, buying into the process that we talk about every day. Like, our mentality as coaches hasn't changed at all. We're on them just as hard this week as we were versus Trinity, and we were against Olivet and St. X. So, we just got to go out and continue to get better. And that's something that we talk about is let's focus on us, get better. One of the things, kind of backtracking a little bit, that I talked to the team about on Monday is, a little math problem. And I said, you guys are going to think my math is wrong, but I said 1 + 1, what does that equal? And I told them 1 + 1 = 3, because really, in all honesty, 1 yard in 1 minute, we're 3-0. And, that they've got to, on one hand, put that in perspective and be proud of what they've done against some top ranked teams.
Right.
On the other side, realize that the idea of, moral victories is not good enough, that we're at that level where that's not okay. Let's tighten it up, be sharper when it matters. And both of those came, in situations where it was, 6 minutes left, 5 minutes left, where we really need to be at our best, and we're getting better. Obviously our ball security at the end of the game was good. Now it falls on other areas. So we just got to go be us. I think we have some advantages against this team in some ways. I think our speed is something that could present problems for them. But again, across the board, we've got to be physical and set the tone, and I look forward to us doing that.
So, Coach, is there any truth to the new play that was put in called Jet 3?
Jet 3, yeah. Well, he's got jets to begin with, so yeah, that's a brand new play that we put in. But he brings some stuff to our offense that it forces the defense to respect.
Right.
And the thing I talked to him about, we've talked about putting him in and using him offensively
Right.
Throughout this year on several occasions, and we felt like now the time was right. His body was kind of back.
Mm-hmm.
He was back in shape. And I told him, you just can't be cramping up because we need you defensively. Mike's done a great job of getting his body ready so he can play both sides of the ball. And we use him sparingly because obviously defense is the most important. But nevertheless, it requires the defense to make some adjustments because he's a hard guy to just cover man-to-man.
Well, absolutely. So with that, Coach, we want to wish you all the best again this the Road Warriors, the Spartan Road Warriors. It's been really exciting to watch the Spartans play on the road, in particular, especially these ranked teams. Now, I know this is not a ranked team. However, this is a team that, like I said, is like one of those rivalry games where, you both know each other very well, and it's always an exciting game. And so, maybe this is the week where the Spartans get back on the W column. And then after that, you come back home for our final home game, which will also be really exciting. So, Coach, thanks for really taking some time today, breaking down some things and really giving us some insight on what was certainly a tough call. However, I think Black is going to be a fantastic kicker at this level as well as for the Spartans. So, give him all the support in the world and especially our whole special teams, knowing that you've got a great snapper, holder. You need all three of those. And I know that because I was a former long snapper. Yeah. And knowing that when the game is on the line, all those things have to come into play. And it was just short. So, well, there you have it, Spartan fans. This Spartans this Saturday at 3:00 kickoff against Saint Ambrose in Davenport, Iowa. This is the Coach B Show, and I'm Guy Danhoff. We want to thank you for watching right here on the Spartan Digital Network.